Jimmy Patsos joins us here on Big Board Sports on this Friday morning. Good morning, Coach.
Hello, Roger. How are you?
Good, man. I feel like it's been forever since we connected. What have you been doing?
You know, we had a great golf tournament yesterday. John Dargenio and his staff ran Saints Alive, had a good golf tournament at the Roost. We've raised a lot of money, saw a lot of fans, and now we get to start practice on Sunday. Our freshmen arrive.
My goodness. And you've been away a little bit, right? You've had a little bit of break in the action. Have you recharged your batteries?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to go with the new guys. It's funny, I saw Brett Bisping yesterday, who's doing great. He signed with a team in Sweden. So Brett signed, Levon's finished school, Javion has worked out twice for different agents in Las Vegas and Charlotte, and Marquise Wright was down with the Wizards. So grateful to our wonderful senior class. They've all graduated. Now they move to their next thing. And now all the freshmen come in. A couple guys are here now, but for the majority of them, Nico Claret, all the freshmen, Sammy Friday, they arrive this Sunday. So we'll shake it out for a few weeks. Then we have camp, and then we go to Montreal, and it starts all over. So we're ready to go, though, ready for some new blood to coach.
Yeah, no doubt. Jim, will you look at this season next year for you? And I want to get to the NBA because that's the reason I want to bring you on. But will you look at next season as a reload year because you lost the 4 1,000-point scores or not?
No, it's a good question. I mean, look, Nico Claret clearly coming back helps us, but, you know, Santi Shivers played really well for us last year. He's getting better. Evan Fisher looks good. Tom Herter's been working out in the gym, looking good. Kadeem Smith's healthy. But I think that, in other words, I think the new guys are all like anxious to prove that they can do some things. And you know, rebuilding's one thing, but we're not conceding anything. I think the MAC's wide open. I mean, Iona's really going to be picked high because that's Iona, and they have some new players, some fifth-year guys, et cetera, but they still lost a lot. You know, Justin Robinson's gone. I'm interested to see what happens with Justin Robinson from Monmouth. Now that there's free agency after the draft is over, he may pick the right team that fits him. And then it's a wide-open league, and we have a tough non-conference. We play College of Charleston and, you know, Albany and Vermont, St. Bonnie's and Hofstra, and we have Florida Gulf Coast coming in this year. Holy Cross returns on the schedule, so tough test early, find out where you're at, and then the MAC. No, we're not conceding anything. I like this group, and I think this group wants to prove that they can play substantial minutes and win games.
Time with Jimmy Patsos, Siena men's basketball coach. Hey, Jimmy, Kevin Herter, which is no surprise. He made the under-18 last year USA basketball. And yesterday, when the final roster came out, he's on the 12-man roster for the under-19 coached by John Calipari. How good can you put into words how good Kevin Herter is, what a phenomenal freshman year he had? And I said yesterday on News Channel 13, in a couple of years from now, I can almost guarantee you when the draft is in June, we will be hanging out trying to figure out what team is going to pick Kevin Herter. You agree?
You know, 16 freshmen got drafted yesterday. I'm not sure if Herter threw his name when they got drafted. I mean, he's got great potential, knows the game. I'm really glad he's playing for Team USA. On Wednesday night, I was down in New York. Coach Krzyzewski got honored. Jerry Colangelo was there. A lot about USA basketball, how important it is. P.J. Carlissimo introduced him. It was a very good evening, and a lot was about USA basketball. People were very, very high on Kevin. Clearly good player, smart, cerebral. Thank God he's more athletic than his old man.
Hey, be careful because I think Tommy might be listening because we are trying.
Probably is.
Yeah, we're trying to effort Kevin for later in the show.
Tom's actually done an amazing job teaching the kids, you know, different skill sets besides basketball, and I think that shows up on the court. Kevin Herter can definitely play in the NBA. I mean, I watch the NBA as a fan. I'm a fan of the Boston Celtics. I mean, I wanted to take Josh Jackson. They took Tatum. They took the kid Bird late from Cali. You know, I watch as a fan, but I like the game. It's a little bit of a different game. One of Mike Krzyzewski's things was college might have to adapt its game so more of its kids can translate into pro players. That was his message on Wednesday. Kevin can play the point all the way up to be a four-man. I mean, he probably can't play center, but other than that, I think he can play everything, even at the pro level. So Sure. I think he just chose to go back to school, and he's choosing to play. They're going to Egypt. They're going to play one of our recruits, Prince Aduro, who's coming here, is on the Canadian national team. Kevin, I got a thumbs up from Calipari. I texted him yesterday, how's he doing? Big thumbs up. But I admire him for wanting to stay in school, and trying to lead Maryland as a Maryland guy. He's going to try to lead Maryland to a national title. They got a really interesting team. They got some young kids back that played a lot last year. They ran into Xavier. Everybody said, what happened until Xavier went to the Elite Eight? Kevin Herter, to me, would probably be their best player next year. But I love his versatility. And you got to be able to shoot the three because they're going to stretch the defense. And he clearly can shoot the ball very well. But he knows how to play, too. You watch Ball making passes on last night. Herter knows how to play like that. You watch different guys, Tatum doing different skill sets. I don't put anybody he's as good as anybody else out there, I'll tell you that. And then, can he make a big run in the tournament like Wilson did for Michigan, who goes in the first round, things like that. But clearly, he's got a great future. And do I see him playing in that league? Yeah, I hope he plays for the Celtics.
Speaking of the Boston Celtics, I know you're a big Boston fan. You were disappointed in their pick at 3?
I just thought Jackson was more ready to play. I'm not sure that's all over. I can't lie. If I had my druthers, I thought the Porzingis thing might go through, because they got the players in the draft picks. We'll talk about the Knicks. I like that they took Frank from Hawaii, from France, who's going to remind me of Jason Parker, of Parker from the guy that took reminds me of Tony Parker. He's got a big upside. The question is we don't know because he's from France. And being in France is a whole different game for all of us. But these guys are playing pro games. That's what Coach K was talking about. Can the college game get a little bit more like the pro game? Therefore, we feed into their system better. The Celtics, Jason Tatum, very, very, very athletic. Very good player. Is he ready to play right now? I'm not sure. What's funny is now the whole free agency is going to happen. Do they keep Tatum? Do they trade him? Do they try to get Hayward from Utah? I don't know where all that stands, but I thought the Butler trade was interesting. I thought Minnesota got better. Chicago is clearly rebuilding. I don't know what's going on. I know the Knicks fans want more. I thought Luke Kennard really impressed me with his ability to move up in the draft, to go for the Pistons, to go 12th or 13th, whatever he did. We played them 2 years ago. I don't think he started for Duke. In other words, you can't get better and move your draft position up. I like Luke Kennard. But, Frank Mason, senior, sticking around, Josh Hart, senior, sticking around, winning a lot of games and still getting drafted. I'm glad that happened because sometimes people say you have to leave too early. Josh Hart was the last pick of the first round. He won a national title. I thought he really turned himself into a good player. I love Frank Mason, Wooden Player of the Year. Kansas, we played against him. And then there was the second round where all the Oregon guys, who I really liked, Oregon went to the Final Four. Sindarius from South Carolina went to the Final Four. They were all second-round picks. And they got to make the team as a second-round pick. You don't get the guaranteed money. So it's going to be very interesting. But I still think winning in college can help you get drafted. But the young 16 freshmen coming out said maybe it's a young man's game. Maybe they're betting on the future. I guess the Celtics just turned it around and said, Tatum, long arms, Duke kid. It's hard to be a star at Duke because they're going to share the ball. And so they took him. I just thought Josh Jackson was a little more ready.
Coach Brian Mariano sitting in with Raj this morning. You said you liked the pick for the Knicks at 8, but my question is, what is Phil Jackson doing dangling KP out there like that and possibly even trading him? You said you could have expected it to move up to 3, but what direction is Phil Jackson going with this team?
Yeah, it's a good question with what's going on down there. I know that, the Knicks fans want to see more progress. I like Porzingis. If the Celtics could have grabbed him, I think he's a tremendous upside with his size, and he can play inside and out. But probably Jackson's mad at him because he didn't go to the meetings at the end of the year. It's still Phil's still the boss. They got a very interesting team. I can't lie. I wanted the Celtics to get Carmelo Anthony very badly down the stretch. Thought when they ran into Cleveland, they needed someone like Carmelo to take the next step to beat Cleveland. Looking at the series, I bet Cleveland wished they got him because Kyle Korver and Darren Williams didn't play so well. They probably wish they talked Carmelo into coming. But the Knicks seem to be holding on to Carmelo. They got Porzingis out there. I like Frank, who's the kid from France. I mean, from what I've read about him, and I really trust Frank for Schiller, but I'm like everybody else. I just read the New York papers. I don't watch his games. I like their center, but they could be in a big, situation where they don't have enough players in the NBA to compete. You need real players out there. Isaiah Thomas, I went to 2 playoff games for the Celtics, took my staff. Avery Bradley's a man out there. Jay Crowder's a really good player. They have one of the best centers in Horford. I mean, he's kind of a passing center. Celtics are really good. Then they got killed by Cleveland. Now we saw what Cleveland did to the Warriors. The Wizards are coming with Wall and Beal. Beal was tough. I saw him in person. The Knicks, they better get some real players. And can they attract them with a little chaos? That's an interesting factor to look at if you're a Knicks fan. In other words, if you were an NBA star, I'd want to play in New York because you're going to sell the most shoes. Under Armour signs Josh Jackson. Nike takes this guy. I understand the Ball wanting to go to the Lakers because that's where he's from, but New York's still the epicenter of the media world, but nobody wants to come here. So clearly that's not a good situation because everybody should want to play for the Knicks. I'm dying to see the Knicks get better. Can they? I don't know. Porzingis seemed like he was a pretty good player, and now they're dangling him. Now you got a 19-year-old kid that played in France, France is probably equivalent to AAA. It's not the NBA. It's not a low level, but it's AA, AAA. That's not going to work in the NBA this next year or two, and then Phil's gone. So very interesting which direction they're going into. But I thought Porzingis was like your star of the future, and then to see him be dangled is kind of interesting.
Well, he's going to have to get on the same page with Phil Jackson sooner than later. That is for darn sure. And I also like, you mentioned kids that got better as the year went on. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Zach Collins dude, didn't he come off the bench for Gonzaga and he ends up as a number 10 pick in the draft?
Yes, he did. And he got traded, right? He's going to Portland now. He was going to go to Sacramento. Now he's going to Portland.
Going to Portland, yes. Right.
But they were really good. That's another team we don't see enough of. And I thought going to the Final Four really helped him, and then you show what he can do against the big boys. But he's got a big upside. He's really tall and young, et cetera. And that brings me back to Herter. He's a young. I just think if he had thrown his name in the draft last night, I'd have picked him. I'd have picked him if I was the Spurs. If I was a really good team, because I know he can play right away. Collins, Portland made the playoffs. They can throw him in there right now. Now, he's really young, but can he play right away? He looked like he could handle the game right away. He's not a project, I really like Florida State's guys, but I watched him play, and he's a project. He's going to go to Orlando, and that's going to take a year to get around. He's a 6th pick in the draft. Collins looks like he can play right away. That's why I like Frank Mason. I think he can play right away. I think Josh Hart's going to run in there and play right away. The guy from Miami, Reed's the guard. My friend's the coach at Miami, Chris Caputo. He can go in and play right away. I think good teams need guys that can help right away, maybe, just to see if they can get to that next level. If you're early in the draft, whether it's the Celtics stashing Tatum, Ball's clear. I think Ball's the best player in the draft. I would have taken Ball if I was the Celtics at number 1. But there were some mitigating factors, I guess. He clearly, after watching the 30 for 30, he wasn't going to play for the Celtics when he grew up a Lakers fan.
He got that right.
Coach, I'm looking at your site here, and you know me, I'm into the horses. Like to go up to Saratoga as well, and I'm looking I can get a deal for season tickets for you guys and to the track.
Look, John Argenia does a great job. He does a great job, marketing. Why wouldn't you go to both? And I did go to some horse races this year. I was at the Preakness. I was lucky to be there. Had the number 2 horse, too, although Chad Brown didn't run him in the Belmont. Yeah, why wouldn't you? If you can do both, I think it's going to be a really exciting year for us on the home court in terms of St. Bonaventure, Hofstra, Albany, Florida Gulf Coast we open with, and Holy Cross. There's a lot of Holy Cross alums. We're playing the Friday before before Christmas. So, in other words, really good home schedule with some familiar names and some fun teams. Florida Gulf Coast went to the NCAA last year. Holy Cross, NCAA 2 years ago. Albany and Coach Brown, clearly, a team that I think could win the America East next year, and they were one game away from winning it this year. They were leading with 5 minutes to go. Hofstra and Joe Mahala coming up. St. Bonaventure, our rival, who's in the A-10, along with the MAC schedule. It's a great schedule this year to get home tickets.
Jimmy,
and if you go to Saratoga, Well, I'm glad I moved out of there, though, because I have saved some money by moving further away from there.
It's right around the corner, my man. July, another month, and we'll be spending a lot of time heading up the Northway to exit 14 or 15. I can guarantee you, Jimmy. Always a pleasure, man. We appreciate a few minutes.
Roger, I got to get in after I have practice with the young kids. I'll let you know. And me, you, and Jeff Sperber from Huckfin. Huckfin is still our little friend, sponsor, et cetera. Jeff's a great guy. We all got to get together.
I'm waiting for the invite, and we keep talking about it. We got to nail that down.
Oh, let's because it's funny because now I'm around a lot, and then we got camp in August, which means I'm here for 2 weeks, which is great. And if anybody has kids out there and they want to, our camp's really fun. All our players coach camp. Our players see Roger. I get them back and I make them coach for 2 weeks. Then they see how it is.
Hey, Jimmy, I want to put in an emotion offense for my fifth grade travel basketball team next year. I need to sit down with you for a few minutes. All right.
Hey, anytime. I know you're into the baseball. Nah, Roger. I get word out there. You're a good coach, very good basketball coach. Hey, Brian, I'll see you guys later.
All right, take care. Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy Patsos, good stuff.